The star topology network is split up into 4 separate VLANs in addition to the default. Each VLAN represents a different department of the company, being accounts management, sales, and marketing. With each VLAN, it has its own IP range, as opposed to a separate subnet. Within the switch, I've configured each port to match a different VLAN within the network, splitting it up for each department of the company. Going down the list, you can see that starting with the management VLAN, it goes through each of them, splitting them 4 for each group, representing the 4 different computers that are in each group except for management. This leaves 2 open slots in case they have an expansion. In port 23 of the switch, you'll see there's a trunk, which is where the router will then be connected in. Port 24 and gigabit port 1 and 2 are also open with a trunk configured. This is in case of expansion with the addition of an extra switch or end devices such as a server. On screen currently is my VLAN configuration. This shows which port is dedicated to which VLAN on the switch. Going into the router's configuration, you'll see there's a password trying to go into privilege mode. This is just set for Cisco currently. This to add an extra level of security when going in to configure the router. So running configuration on the router at the moment will just show the different DHCP pools that I've set up on this network. I have 1 pool for each VLAN that I've created, which will allow it to distribute an IP fitting to the range of the VLAN. Using my IP addressing scheme as shown in the design, it matches the VLAN number with the IP address number. For instance, VLAN 5 will have a 192.168.5. And then a number after to show the device on that network. Having each VLAN put on a separate network is good practice, as it means if the VLAN is not configured correctly, the computers will not actually be able to communicate with each other. Going into the computers, you'll see that each of the computers has been given a IP address using the DHCP. If one of the devices on the network is to be unplugged and plugged into a separate VLAN, you'll see that it will get distributed with a fitting IP address. Port 3 and 4 are dedicated to VLAN 5, the management VLAN. Once the device connects, you'll see that the DHCP for this computer will then change to fit for VLAN 5. As an additional feature on the network, I have allowed it so the computers can telnet into the router for configuration. This can be done by using the telnet command with the IP of the correct port on the router. For VLAN 5, that'll be the 5.5.250. It will then pop up with the banner that I have configured and ask you for a password. As previously mentioned, the password is currently set as Cisco to allow you into the router. When trying to go into privilege mode, it will then ask you for the password again. From here, you can go in and you can configure the switch with any settings that you desire. Telnet is not the most secure of methodologies, as it means that all traffic is sent across an unencrypted network. Going back into the configuration of the switch, you'll see that the port 00 has been split up into 5 separate subports. By doing this, I can allow that each of the VLANs can connect to the router using one of these sub-interfaces. I've allowed for these ports to be easily accessible by keeping them all on the 250. This means that when connecting in, you need to use the VLAN number and the number 250 to access the router. The IP address of these sub-interfaces is also referenced in the pools via the default router. This acts as a default gateway so that when distributing DHCP, it can access any computer on the network using this default router.